All right, so we're talking about the fact that people towards the end of the year get into that anxiety mode, wondering if they've had a good year, wondering if next year is going to be better. And yes, that is a natural feeling that everybody has. My perspective is always to think about the year. What defines it as good or bad? And that starts with the goals that you set for yourself for the year. If you look back in the year and see what were the goals you set for yourself, the quality of those goals determine how you'll be able to measure. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is important to set goals. People underestimate it, but goals are so powerful that it helps you to be able to appreciate if you're going the right direction or not. But without setting goals, it's very difficult to be able to make some of those conclusions. And so you find people in that mode of anxiety, that mode of depression sometimes. And while that is very sad, we can always do better. So for next year, going into 2025, it will be a good thing to set goals. Setting goals starts with thinking about the end and then working your way to the beginning. What would you want your year to look like? If you had the ability to write your year, what would you want it to look like? And as I'm speaking about 2025, it is important to reference 2024 for those who are evaluating 2024 and wondering if they did the right thing or not. What goals did you set? So for those of you that set goals, looking through those goals, how many of you were you able to achieve? Now, if you are not able to achieve some, the question will be, why didn't you achieve it? Looking through those goals and being able to speak the truth to yourself, they can be very helpful in making those analyses that reveal, especially so that you don't make the same mistakes for 2025. So why didn't you achieve those goals? If it requires spending your time, your energy, your resources, make no mistakes, you still spent it on something else. Why didn't you spend it on these other things that you were hoping? The truth is, sometimes people also set unrealistic goals, and so you have already set yourself up for failure right from the beginning. So could it be because you set unrealistic goals? Could it be that you actually set some solid goals, but you just didn't work it, or you didn't put your full energy or attention to it? And again, that leads to another question: why didn't you do that? Maybe because the goals were not motivating enough. And that is why, as we go into 2025, it's important to look at the year and say, what do I want to achieve? Does that motivate you? Does that make you want to get up every day? Does that make you want to eat the road? Does that make you want to... And please, I should also add this, that sometimes people set goals just because they are in competition with somebody else. Don't do that. Your race is different from the other person's race. And that is why it has to be personal. It has to be individual. It has to be what you want. What would you be happy with, or what would you see at the end of the year that will make you happy? And for somebody else, it might be just buying that new business or just buying a new property. But for somebody else, it may just be spending time with family and being able to just slow down and taking care of their health. It is difficult for people sometimes to come and say, oh, that is the goal that I set for myself for the year, because in comparison to other people, you can feel like they are setting huge goals and they are crunching it and just smashing their goals, and then you're wondering how to come out and be able to talk about how you took some time to just take a mental break, and just for your mental sanity to take a break. Sometimes even leaving a job can be a goal, as strange and as interesting as it sounds. It could be a goal. So again, you need to determine what the goal is for yourself for the year, and that is where you're going to work your way backwards and be able to take actions. Now, having established the goals for the year, the next question would be, what are you going to do to be able to get to that goal? A feeling of not accomplishing anything, it is valid, but the first question would be, for somebody in that type of situation, the first question would be, what did you initially set to do in the year? We cannot just out of the blues come to a conclusion that the year hasn't counted for much without having a yardstick by which we are measuring. So the first measurement would be, what did you set out to achieve during the year that you eventually feel that you failed at? And it is worth mentioning that you need to be able to mention maybe 2 or 3 things. So even if they weren't like concrete goals that you documented, you at this states, now thinking backwards, what would you have loved to see this year that would have made you feel that it was a good year? That would be the starting point. Once you have documented that, the next question would be, why didn't you work on it? And there could be several reasons. It could be because you were not conscious of it. It could be because they were not documented. It could be because you were not highly motivated. It could also be because you just got other priorities. And that's the other thing about goals. There are times in life that things will spring up on you that there will now be other priorities, and that is why you are not made for the goals. The goal is made for you. And being able to make that adjustment and being that agile is one of the critical success indicators, as it were, or one of the attitude or skill sets to being a successful person. So without being able to answer some of those questions that I just asked, it is very difficult to be able to determine why you are not happy. But yes, I do agree that a lot of people are in that place where they are not happy. They feel that the year hasn't gone right. But the question would be, why do they think so? What did they feel the year should have done, or they should have done during the year that didn't happen? For the person that feeling a sense of things went out of control, you couldn't even consistently follow up on your goals and kind of feel like you were just cruising through life. You have described a situation that felt more like you were reactive rather than being active. I do understand that, and that happens to even the very best of us from time to time. The ability to be able to come back and be that very self-aware that this is what is going on, and being able to come back can be the starting point. So what has happened in the past has happened. There's really nothing you can do about the past except to learn from it and to be able to channel it path towards the future. The question then would be, thinking of where you are now, what would you love to see? Let's not dwell so much on the happenings of the past and the things that you don't have control over, and talk about, with all that life has dealt with you today, with all the different challenges or some of the things that may have sprung up that were not even factored into the year, where are you today and where do you want to get to? So if you are able to articulate that, that would be a great place to start, to be able to channel a path into the future. What would you love to see in the next 1 year, in the next 6 months? What would the next 2 years look like that will make you feel you've really done some great things? Defining that, articulating that can be helpful. And please make no mistakes, that can be very difficult sometimes, because sometimes people just don't know what it is that they want. And that is why exposure, that is why thinking deeply about things, that is why having a mentor and working with somebody else can be very helpful. You know, we talked about the very ambitious people and how it is that they kind of feel like they've not been able to achieve more. But you see, the bigger percentage of people is actually those who are not even as ambitious. The truth is, you cannot be happier than the goals that you set for yourself. And that is why when people do not consciously set goals and articulate them, you are actually setting yourself up for misery, because life will be miserable without knowing exactly what it is that you want to achieve. Living every day on auto cruise and just coasting around and just walking with the flow is one of the most injurious things, for the lack of better word, the disservice to yourself. Initially it may look like, well, you have nothing to look forward to, and so you have no fear of failing at anything, but life is not made or built that way. So for that person listening to me or watching this who feels that they are not ambitious people, they don't set goals, they have nothing, you are actually doing yourself a lot of disservice, because you're going to feel very miserable, very unhappy, and at the end of the day, that is really what leads people to get really depressed. And like they always say, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And if you are not writing your own story, I promise you, you are helping somebody else write theirs. So everybody needs to take ownership of their lives and write those goals. No matter how simple, small, big, medium that they are, you still got to take a step somewhere and start working your way towards something. That really is setting yourself up for a life of fulfillment, a life of happiness and excitement. And I know that people think the work that goes into working those goals can be a lot. But here's the truth. That work is nothing compared. The stress of working your way towards a goal is nothing compared to the stress of not having any. Because the misery and the unhappiness that comes with that far, far, far outweighs the stress or the difficulty of a life that is working towards a goal. The concept or idea of goals have been sometimes abused in the mind of people. People's mind has been disabused to think that goals had to be something really big, really huge. The way I would describe it would be that of a child, maybe a toddler, for example. You would agree with me that nobody expects a child that has never worked to just move from being a child, being carried, or being stationary to now being able to take a walk. The goal for that child would be first to be able to crawl. I think when people think about goals, they think of flying or running, but that is not necessarily true, and that can be very misleading. As a matter of fact, is one of the reasons why people don't want to set goals, because they are actually setting the wrong goals. If someone is currently crawling, a good goal would be to take their first step, not even the first 10 steps. Just taking the first step can be a good goal to have. If somebody is taking 10 steps, then a good goal to have would be to take their first jog or run, as it were. It is only when a person is running and doing very well that you can now talk about flying. What I see happen to a lot of people is that their friends are flying and they just want to go from walking to flying, and that is not fair. That is not fair on themselves, not fair on their friends, not fair on everybody that has a stake in their lives. And so we need to be able to take people from where they are, at where they are, and be able to set goals depending on where it is that they are. Somebody else's journey is not yours, and we all are in different seasons of our lives. Somebody else's season of harvesting, maybe somebody else's season of sowing, maybe somebody else's season of just preparing the ground without even sowing. Again, it comes to people being able to identify where they are and what the goal would be. For somebody, the goal may just be to take a break from work and be able to focus on their health. And that may not look like a great goal to a lot of people. It doesn't sound like, goal, I want to buy my other property, I want to do this. But that is who you are. That is the stage and the season of your life. And I think comparison typically robs us of the joy of our lives, because then we are comparing our goals with somebody else and I kind of feel like we haven't achieved anything. For somebody, a goal may just be to take care of their kids, spend more time with their family. Those are laudable goals that people perhaps don't like to talk about, but they are still very significant goals. For somebody else, it may just be to spend time with their parents. Say their parents are now aged or they are retired, and relocating to go spend time with them and just invest in their lives can be such a great goal. So again, I think it is for everybody to look at their lives and be able to set goals. Yes, you want to set spiritual goals, you want to set health goals, you want to set financial goals. We hear a lot about financial goals, but it's just one of the goals to set, not everything. People set investment goals, and that's the one that people are usually loud or talking about all the time. But those are not the only type of goals. You could have relationship goals. I want to invest more in my friends. I want my relationships to be richer. So again, looking at our lives, being able to take baby steps, celebrate those baby steps. Don't try to jump, because otherwise you'll be setting yourself up for failure. And then people don't want to set goals the next time because they feel the last time they didn't achieve those goals. What we define as goals is actually the starting point as to whether we even set the right goals or not. It is important to note, for example, that super achievers are people that do less. People think doing more means being more successful, but super achievers have actually been expounding and been thinking about that theory and reading up a lot about it in recent time, especially with the whole new concept or theory about exponential growth. Super achievers actually are people that do less. The more we do does not necessarily result to how happy we are. People that are really doing so well are people that want to increasingly decrease the number of things that they do. And so that understanding itself can be a major shift for us in terms of what we define as success. So I'll probably help with talking about the time matrix that I've shared with a lot of people in my training. There is 4 quadrants in that time matrix. You have the urgent, you have the non-urgent, you have the important, and then you have the not important. A lot of times we are all over the place in this particular quadrant. So for example, the urgent things are your emergency, health breaks down, you need to deal with that. Your car broke down, you need to fix that. Something happens in your business that is making you lose money, you need to fix that. A lot of people are in that urgent quadrant. And then you have the things that are not urgent but that are important. And for a lot of super achievers, that's the contract where they live. Things that are not supposedly urgent, but they are important, like nurturing our relationships, like building business relationships, like building networks, like reading, like traveling, like taking vacation, like seeing your doctor without having an emergency. Those are not urgent, but they are important things. People are in crisis mode when you are in urgent and not important, because then you are always putting out fires. And then some, of course, get themselves into the category of not urgent and not important. We want to consistently do things that will keep us in that quadrant of not necessarily urgent but are important things. So again, it begs the question, what are the things that are important to you? Or what is important to the other person may be completely different from what is important to you. So as we look into 2025, let's start with defining what is important to us. What is success to us? Don't think so much of the other person. People's life are not supposed to set us into that competition mode. They're supposed to inspire us, but not necessarily now drive us into that mode where you're now going on and on and on, and then you lose yourself, you lose your joy, you abuse or take your relationship for granted, and it's just a miserable life to live. So take a minute as we go into 2025 and determine what is important to you. Is it family, your career, your job, investments? Those are great things, but for somebody else, it may just be their spiritual life. They just want to connect more with God, with their purpose. Do you know that just setting on a journey to define your purpose and to seek it can be perhaps the most important thing for a person, and it's not urgent? I've not seen anybody where there's a sense of urgency about defining purpose, but that itself is an important thing, and there's absolutely nobody doing well in life today that didn't have a time where they discovered purpose. Because true fulfillment, and please, I'm not talking about fame. There are a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people that are not happy. I'm talking of people that are really enjoying a rich, fulfilling life. It starts with defining purpose. And when purpose is known and we live in the area of purpose, you find out that not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every job is your job. Not every business is your business. Not every upward movement is your upward movement. And people just need to learn this and to take life easy and just enjoy life the way it's supposed to be. Play your funeral in your head. At the end of the day, what would you love people to say about you, and what will really have mattered? Because again, purpose is personal. For that person who feels that sense of emptiness and doom, I think is because they do not have a good sense of what the gift of life is. There's absolutely nobody that is here by chance. That you have breath in your nostrils, that you are alive, is a gift. And if not for anything, you may not have anything else working out, but that you are alive is a gift. And for anybody that is alive, there are opportunities. So I want to encourage that person. You just never know what is around the corner. And I know people sometimes have suffered a lot of failure, a lot of frustration, and kind of feel like there's nothing to look forward to anymore. So if you are that person, I want you to know that every single day is a gift, is an opportunity. And if you remain positive in life, you keep looking forward to the best, eventually life will smile back at you. There will be certain opportunities that are going to come your way, and then being able to take those opportunities and be able to work with them is going to set you on that path where you're now going to start celebrating life and find a reason to live again. So for that person, I would say that still think about the positive side of life. The more negative you think about, the more negativity will come to you. But think about the sunshine, think about the rain, think about the birds, think about nature, think about all the good things that can come to life. Number two would be to daydream. Dream about the possibilities of life. What if? People say that all the time. What if it never happens? What if it never happens? Question is, what if it happens? Yeah, who knows? So again, there are several stories we've read of people that were homeless, people that didn't think anything else can come, but just having a positive outlook to life, working hard, get a job, build relationships, start talking to people, be interested more in people, and give. Because people think that having more is what makes people happy, but in life it's actually giving more. So you look for somebody else that does not have hope, or does not have a future, or does not have something to look forward to, and be an encourager to that person. And the more you pour into some other person, the more you see that more is poured into you as well. And then I believe the future will be bright. Don't give up. Keep looking. Keep trusting. But while you're waiting, do what waiters do. They serve other people. And just serve. Help somebody else. And eventually what you cannot do for yourself, you find God doing it for you. Yeah, so for that person trying to juggle life and being able to make a decision between working to make more money, to be able to pay the bills, and also being available for the kids to be able to attend their soccer game or just be a part of their life, I think it's all about the little trade-offs. Life itself is about trade-offs. I would say don't try to move from one side of the pendulum and jump to the other side. I think it's taking baby steps. So if today you are not attending any of those events, why don't you try with maybe one or two for starters, and don't feel guilty. At least you are making steps, right? Because the bills still have to be paid. And so just taking one or two, a few breaks from work, and then being able to attend those life important events for the people that we love and the people that love us will be a good starting point. Number two will be to now start exploring other options. Are there other jobs you can do that will give you more time? Is there some other way you can take it, maybe a second job, so that you don't have to spend this number of hours on this other job that takes everything from you? Are there programs, courses you can run or you can take in order to get additional skills? And while you're doing that, you're still making room or getting opportunity to attend one or two of those soccer games. So while you may not be like other mothers or other fathers or other partners that are now 100% available for the people that love them and the people that we love, you can be that person that last year you were only able to attend one game, but this year you are making a goal to attend two or three. Those are still good wins, and then it can be progressive. So the following year, with you now making some lifestyle changes and some career changes, and then that sets you up to now be able to take 3 games or 4 games, and then says in 5 years you are now able to attend 10 games, and then you finally able to live the type of life that you want to live. So again, don't rush it and don't feel guilty that you are not able to do all the things that you want to do, because again, you can't jump from ground zero to 100 in 1 minute or in a day. You need to be able to do it incrementally, and as you do that, there's also that element of life just favoring us, and just see things change and favor just turns your way, and then you are able to see new opportunities, and who knows that what you have even thought will take you 5 years, and you may just have new opportunities in another 2 or 3 years, and just keep an open mind, and then you are able to achieve it. And I think that that's a good way to be. I listened to Jeff Bezos a few weeks ago, and somebody asked him about work-life balance, and I love the answer that he gave. The answer that he gave is that people's definition of work-life balance can be somewhat misleading, because what it is for one person it may be different from what it is for the other person. The general definition of work-life balance is people to be able to work proportionally but still be able to afford to spend time on other things that they love. But what if what the person loves is the work? And he gave an example of a working dad or a working mom, for example, that works really hard and is not 100% available for the family, and you now make a drastic change to leave your work or to cut down on your work, and then you're now with the family, but then you feel miserable and you feel unhappy, and they are now the one begging you to go on vacation and to go away from home. And so while it may look like a good work-life balance in the sense that you are now available, the truth is that you are now not useful to anybody, which is why the definition of that work-life balance, I think, speaks more to people's purpose, speaks more to people's life, speaks more to individual purposes. So again, while it is important for us to be able to juggle things and be able to maintain that balance, it is also important to think about the personal application of it as to what it means for each person.